Eleanor Carter had never believed in fate. She was a practical woman, a historian who preferred facts over speculation. But the day she discovered the old leather-bound journal in the attic of her grandmother's house, everything changed. The journal was tucked away in a dusty wooden box, hidden beneath a pile of yellowed newspapers from the 1920s. The leather cover was cracked with age, its once golden lettering barely legible. Eleanor carefully opened it, her fingers trembling slightly as she turned the delicate pages. The handwriting was elegant, precise, yet unfamiliar. The first entry was dated May 3rd, 1896. To whoever finds this journal, know that my name is Charles Whitmore, and I am a man cursed by time. Eleanor frowned. A cursed man. It sounded like the beginning of a Gothic novel rather than a real historical document. But, as she read further, curiosity gripped her. Charles Whitmore had been a scientist, an inventor obsessed with the concept of time travel. He claimed to have built a device that allowed him to see glimpses of the future. His entries detailed failed experiments, strange visions, and warnings about events that had yet to unfold. One particular passage made Eleanor's breath catch in her throat. On the night of October 12, 2023, a woman named Eleanor Carter will find this journal. She must not ignore my words. The fate of time itself depends on her. Eleanor dropped the journal, her heart hammering in her chest. How was this possible? The journal was over a century old, yet it mentioned her name and the exact date she found it. Shaken, she sat on the attic floor, staring at the journal as if it might disappear. Was this an elaborate hoax? A family secret no one had told her about? Or was Charles Whitmore telling the truth? Determined to find out, Eleanor packed the journal into her bag and hurried downstairs. She needed answers, and she knew exactly where to start. The historical archives of Whitmore Manor, the long-abandoned estate of Charles Whitmore himself. As she drove through the winding countryside roads, Eleanor couldn't shake the feeling that she had just stepped into a mystery far greater than she had ever imagined. She was no longer just a historian. She was now part of the store. Whitmore Manor stood in eerie silence, its once grand facade now crumbling under the weight of time. Eleanor pushed open the rusted iron gates and made her way up the gravel path. The air was thick with the scent of damp earth and decaying wood. Inside, the manor was a labyrinth of dust-covered furniture and faded portraits staring down at her. She found the library, a vast room lined with shelves stretching from floor to ceiling. If there were answers, they would be here. Hours passed as she pored over documents, letters, and blueprints. Then she found it. A notebook filled with equations and diagrams eerily similar to modern quantum physics. Whitmore had been ahead of his time. Suddenly, a noise echoed through the halls. Footsteps. Eleanor's breath hitched. She wasn't alone. A shadow flickered at the edge of her vision. A man, tall and dressed in antiquated clothing, stood in the doorway. His eyes locked onto hers with a look of both recognition and disbelief. "Eleanor Carter," he said, his voice a whisper. "You finally came." The room spun as realization dawned upon her. Charles Whitmore wasn't just a name in an old journal. He was standing right in front of her,